Have you ever felt like the world is too loud, too fast, too overwhelming? Maybe you prefer quiet corners, meaningful conversations, or simply being alone with your thoughts. If that sounds familiar, you might think you're just an introvert. But what if there's more going on inside your brain than you realize? Something fascinating is happening every time you withdraw, observe, or stay silent. Your mind is quietly working in ways most people will never notice. Today, we're going to uncover 10 hidden psychological truths about introverts, brain hacks, subtle superpowers, and secrets your quiet mind has been keeping all along. Have you ever walked into a crowded room and immediately felt tired, even before speaking to anyone? Or maybe you've noticed that while some people light up in parties, you start counting the minutes until you can escape. There's a fascinating reason behind this. It's all in your brain. You see, your brain is wired in a way that makes social rewards feel very different for you compared to extroverts. And understanding this wiring can completely change how you see yourself. At the center of this is a brain chemical called dopamine, often called the reward chemical. Most people know dopamine as the chemical that makes us feel pleasure when we eat chocolate, get a compliment, or achieve something important. But dopamine doesn't just respond to obvious rewards, it also responds to social rewards. These are moments when your brain interprets social interaction as valuable or energizing. For extroverts, social rewards are highly stimulating. When they enter a crowded room, their brain releases dopamine, giving them a natural boost of energy and motivation. They feel alive, connected, and even euphoric in social situations. But for introverts, it's almost the opposite. Your brain also releases dopamine in social situations, but your nervous system interprets it differently. Instead of feeling a rush of energy, you often feel overstimulated, drained, or even anxious. Why does this happen? Part of the answer lies in how the introvert brain processes stimulation. Introverts have more active prefrontal cortices, the part of the brain responsible for planning, analysis, and reflection. This means that every piece of information, every conversation, every subtle facial expression in the room is being processed more deeply than others might notice. While an extrovert might skim over these details and feel energized, your brain is busy taking in everything, a flood of information that consumes energy fast. And it's not just the brain's chemical response, it's also about arousal levels. Psychologist Hans Eysenck theorized decades ago that introverts naturally have higher baseline levels of cortical arousal. Simply put, your brain is already switched on at a higher level. Adding more stimulation, like a loud party or a crowded meeting, pushes your nervous system into overdrive. That's why what feels exciting for someone else can feel exhausting for you. This also explains a common misunderstanding about introverts, that we are shy or antisocial. In reality, it's not about fear or lack of social skills, it's about energy management. Every interaction consumes mental energy, and unlike extroverts, we need more recovery time afterward. Think of it like a battery. Extroverts recharge by social interaction, while introverts discharge. To feel fully functional again, introverts often need solitude, reflection, or quiet activities to restore energy. Interestingly, this wiring also makes introverts highly selective about the social rewards they pursue. You're more likely to thrive in meaningful, deep conversations than in casual small talk. Your brain finds energy not in the number of interactions, but in the quality of connection. That's why a long heart-to-heart with a close friend can feel rejuvenating, even though a noisy party of strangers might leave you depleted. Science even confirms this difference using brain scans. Studies have shown that introverts and extroverts activate different regions in response to reward. Extroverts show more activity in areas linked to external rewards and motivation, while introverts activate areas associated with internal thinking, reflection, and planning. This explains why introverts are often more introspective and thoughtful. Their brains naturally look inward for satisfaction. But here's the mystery. Even though crowds can feel draining, it doesn't mean introverts don't enjoy social connection. In fact, the brain's wiring makes these connections extra meaningful. When you do engage socially, the reward isn't in the sheer volume of interactions, but in the depth of experience. One genuine conversation can light up your dopamine system in a way that dozens of casual interactions cannot. Understanding this can be empowering. Many introverts spend years thinking something is wrong with them because they don't thrive in social environments the way others do. But the truth is, your brain is simply wired differently, and differently doesn't mean worse. It means you have a unique set of strengths, including deep focus, empathy, and the ability to notice details others miss. Here's a practical insight. Because your brain responds differently to social rewards, it's important to manage social exposure intentionally. Instead of forcing yourself to stay in every social situation, notice when your energy starts to drop. Take breaks, step outside, or retreat to a quiet space. This isn't avoidance, it's aligning with the natural wiring of your brain. Another tip comes from understanding dopamine. Your brain craves novelty, but in a way that doesn't overwhelm your system. So instead of huge parties, seek smaller, stimulating experiences, a cafe conversation, a book club, or a small group activity. These provide the social reward your brain craves without causing overload. Finally, there's a hidden advantage to this wiring. Because your brain processes information more deeply, you are often better at planning, problem-solving, and predicting outcomes. Your heightened sensitivity to stimulation can make you more creative, empathetic, and observant. Crowds might drain your energy, but they also train your mind to notice subtleties that most people overlook, a secret superpower hiding in plain sight. So next time you feel drained in a social situation, don't see it as a flaw. See it as a signal from your brain, telling you how it is wired to respond to rewards. Crowds may drain your energy, but understanding why can help you navigate the world in a way that feels natural and even enjoyable. After all, your brain is giving you the ultimate psychological cheat code. A deep, reflective mind that notices the details others miss and treasures the connections that truly matter. Have you ever been in a room full of people, surrounded by laughter and conversation, and found yourself quietly observing everything? Maybe you notice patterns in the way people speak, subtle body language, or the unspoken tension in a room. To others, silence may seem like emptiness or inaction. But for an introvert, silence is far from empty. In fact, it's a powerful space where your mind is doing more work than anyone realizes. Psychologists call this internal cognitive processing. Your brain is constantly analyzing, connecting, and making sense of the world around you. While others might be busy speaking or reacting, your mind is quietly sorting through layers of information, memories, emotions, and observations, all at lightning speed. This is why introverts often appear quiet or reserved. The brain is processing internally, far faster than the pace of conversation. Think about it like this. Your mind is running multiple hidden programs at once. You might be listening to someone speak, but at the same time, your brain is observing their tone, their choice of words, their body posture, and even inconsistencies in their story. Meanwhile, it's also connecting these details to past experiences and predicting what might happen next. All of this happens in silence, invisible to the outside world. Interestingly, neuroscience shows that the default mode network, DMN, of the brain plays a crucial role here. The DMN is most active when we are at rest, not focused on the outside world, in other words, when we are quietly thinking, reflecting, or daydreaming. For introverts, this network is often more active and efficient, meaning that moments of silence are not wasted. They are periods of intense mental activity. This is why silence can feel so natural and even comforting for introverts. It's a space where the brain can work without interruption, building connections, solving problems, or simply making sense of the day. For many, this internal processing leads to deep insights and creative ideas that may never surface in a noisy, overstimulating environment. Another reason silence is so powerful for introverts is that it allows for mental recovery. Social interaction, while enjoyable, consumes cognitive energy, especially when the brain is processing subtle social cues. Silence gives the brain a chance to recharge, organize thoughts, and regulate emotions. Without it, introverts may feel drained, irritable, or overwhelmed, even after what others would consider normal social interaction. But there's a deeper layer to this. Silence also allows introverts to observe patterns others miss. While someone else might focus only on the main conversation, your mind picks up on the details, a fleeting expression, a change in tone, or an unspoken intention. Over time, this silent observation builds a kind of social intuition, a mental map of people, relationships, and situations that can be surprisingly accurate. In fact, research in psychology suggests that introverts often excel at deep thinking and reflection precisely because of this silent processing. While extroverts may thrive on rapid-fire ideas and external stimulation, introverts process information slowly but deeply. This kind of reflection allows for more thoughtful decisions, creative solutions, and a better understanding of complex social dynamics. It's also worth noting that silence is often misunderstood in society. Many people equate being quiet with being shy, disengaged, or even weak. But for introverts, silence is a strategic advantage. It's a space where the mind can observe, reflect, and respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Silence is not absence. It's presence in a deeper form, presence of thought, awareness, and understanding. Even in learning and creativity, silence plays a vital role. Studies show that the brain consolidates information best during quiet reflection. When you step away from noise, your mind connects ideas in new ways, makes novel associations, and sometimes even comes up with aha moments that would never appear in the chaos of constant social input. This is why some of the most innovative thinkers, writers, and scientists are known for valuing solitude and quiet time. Silence also gives introverts emotional clarity. Social interactions often stir a mix of feelings, excitement, stress, empathy, or anxiety. By stepping back into silence, the brain can process these emotions safely, without external pressure. This allows introverts to respond to situations more calmly, make better decisions, and even empathize more deeply, because they have taken the time to understand their own feelings first. Here's a fascinating twist. Even though silence can feel calm, your mind might actually be moving faster than anyone realizes. While the outside world sees quiet, inside your brain, neurons are firing rapidly, forming connections and making sense of complex patterns. This is why introverts often surprise others with deep insights, unexpected solutions, or profound observations, because they have been quietly processing while others were speaking or acting. Understanding this can completely change the way you view yourself. If you naturally enjoy quiet, reflection, or time alone, it's not a flaw. It's a unique strength. Your mind is built to process, reflect, and understand the world in ways that are invisible but highly powerful. Silence is not a void. It's a hidden workspace where your brain is quietly, efficiently, and creatively at work. The next time you find yourself enjoying a quiet moment, don't feel guilty or out of place. Embrace it. Know that your brain is doing something incredible. It is silently observing, analyzing, and creating. In a world that often values noise, extroversion, and constant activity, your ability to process in silence is a rare and invaluable superpower. Silence isn't emptiness, it's mental mastery in action, a private engine driving your thoughts, creativity, and insights. And the more you honor it, the more powerful it becomes, allowing you to navigate the world with clarity, depth, and understanding that others may never notice. But that makes all the difference. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately noticed something others did? Maybe a flicker of doubt in someone's eyes, a tiny shift in body language, or an unspoken tension in the air. While many people are focused on the surface of interactions, introverts have a remarkable ability. Our brains notice subtle details that others overlook. This isn't just a quirk of personality, it's a psychological advantage, a kind of introvert radar that gives us insight, awareness, and understanding far beyond the ordinary. Psychologists explain this through a concept called attentional depth. Our brains are wired to process external stimuli at varying levels of intensity. Extroverts often have a broader, but shallower focus. They take in more of the environment but only skim the details. Introverts, on the other hand, focus deeply on fewer things, allowing them to perceive patterns, inconsistencies, and nuances that go completely unnoticed by others. Imagine a conversation in a crowded room. Most people hear the words, maybe catch the tone, and respond on the surface level. An introvert, however, hears not just the words but the subtle cues behind them. The hesitation before a reply, the micro-expression that hints at hidden feelings, or the rhythm of speech that signals nervousness. This attention to detail is not conscious effort, it's just how your brain is wired to function. This heightened observation gives introverts a unique advantage in social situations. While others may miss the warning signs of conflict or discomfort, introverts can sense them early. While most people accept small inconsistencies as normal, your brain flags them as potentially significant. Over time, this skill allows you to navigate relationships more effectively, anticipate reactions, and understand dynamics that others struggle to see. Interestingly, this radar extends beyond people. Introverts often notice environmental details as well, subtle shifts in lighting, sound, or atmosphere. These small observations can make experiences richer and more meaningful. A quiet introvert might notice the tone of a room, the body language of colleagues, or even the small gestures that signal intention. These details create a mental map that others simply do not form. Neuroscience helps explain why this happens. Studies suggest that introverts have more active anterior cingulate cortices, a part of the brain responsible for attention, error detection, and self-monitoring. This means your brain is constantly scanning for subtle changes and processing them with remarkable precision. Essentially, your mind is wired to catch what others overlook, giving you an edge in social perception and problem-solving. But there's more. This heightened awareness often translates into emotional intelligence. When you notice subtle cues in someone's expression, tone, or behavior, you are better able to understand their emotions, predict their reactions, and respond thoughtfully. This doesn't just make you empathetic, it also makes you a skilled communicator, listener, and observer, even if you don't speak much. Another interesting aspect of this introvert radar is that it often operates subconsciously. You might not even realize you're noticing these details until you act on them or reflect later. This is why introverts are often described as having intuition or gut feelings. That intuition is actually your brain silently piecing together subtle cues into meaningful insights, faster and more accurately than conscious thought alone could manage. This superpower also explains why introverts often excel in fields requiring deep observation and analysis. Writers, artists, detectives, researchers, and psychologists all benefit from the ability to notice what others miss. Your brain's natural attentiveness allows you to connect dots, identify patterns, and see the unseen. In fact, many innovations and creative breakthroughs come from introverts quietly observing the details that everyone else ignores. However, there's a flip side. Because your brain notices so much, introverts can sometimes feel overwhelmed by subtle cues. A room full of people, with countless micro-expressions, shifting emotions, and social dynamics, can be mentally exhausting. Your radar is constantly active, processing everything at once. This is why introverts often need quiet reflection to process observations, recharge, and make sense of the world. It's also why many introverts feel misunderstood. People may overlook your contributions because they focus on who speaks loudly or quickly, rather than who is observing, analyzing, and understanding at a deeper level. But in reality, your quiet attention often shapes your most powerful impact in relationships, work, and creative pursuits. Here's a fascinating psychological insight. Noticing subtle details isn't just a passive skill, it actively changes the brain. Each observation strengthens neural pathways associated with attention, memory, and emotional processing. Over time, introverts become even better at picking up patterns, understanding people, and predicting outcomes. This is a skill that grows silently, invisible to the outside world, but incredibly potent. So how can you harness this superpower? First, embrace your observational nature. Stop seeing silence or quietness as a limitation. Recognize that your mind is actively scanning, learning, and connecting. Second, trust your insights. That gut feeling about a person, situation, or decision often comes from your brain quietly noticing subtle details, and it's usually correct. Finally, use this radar strategically. In conversations, creative work, or problem-solving, leverage your ability to perceive nuances that others miss. In essence, your brain is like a finely tuned sensor, picking up signals hidden in plain sight. While others may overlook them, you are quietly building a map of reality, piece by piece. This introvert radar allows you to see patterns, understand people, and navigate the world with a depth that is rare and powerful. Next time someone underestimates your quietness or introspection, remember this. While the world focuses on volume, speed, and noise, your superpower is attention, observation, and insight. In silence, in reflection, and in subtlety, your mind is quietly doing what others cannot, noticing what matters, seeing what's hidden, and understanding the unseen. Your introvert radar isn't a limitation. It's a cognitive superpower, quietly shaping your thoughts, your creativity, and your understanding of the world. And once you recognize it, you can navigate life with a clarity, awareness, and intelligence that most people only dream of. Have you ever noticed that some days, even after a short social interaction, you feel completely drained, while on other days, long conversations leave you energized? If you're an introvert, this is not a coincidence. It's a key insight about how your brain and body respond to social energy. Contrary to what many believe, social energy isn't a fixed trait determined solely by being introverted or extroverted. It's a dynamic system that fluctuates depending on the environment, context, and even subtle internal cues. Understanding this can transform the way you approach social life, work, and personal growth. At the heart of this fluctuation is your nervous system, which regulates how much stimulation your brain and body can handle at a given time. Introverts tend to have a more sensitive nervous system, meaning that external input, like voices, movements, and social cues, is processed more intensely. On a crowded day or in a loud environment, your system can become overloaded faster than someone with a less sensitive system. But here's the secret. The same person can feel almost supercharged in a smaller, calmer environment. Psychologists describe this as arousal theory. Essentially, your brain seeks an optimal level of stimulation. If the environment is too stimulating, your arousal level spikes, leading to stress, distraction, or fatigue. If the environment is calm and controlled, your arousal is balanced, and social interaction can feel rewarding rather than draining. This explains why introverts can sometimes feel energized by deep conversations in quiet spaces, but exhausted in large gatherings or noisy settings. Interestingly, social energy is also context-dependent. The same person might feel exhausted at a family party, but energized during a one-on-one brainstorming session at work. Your energy isn't determined solely by personality. It's shaped by who you are with, what you're doing, and how the environment interacts with your nervous system. Your brain is constantly evaluating these variables and adjusting your energy in response, often without you even noticing. Another factor is mental preparedness. Introverts often need time to mentally gear up for social interactions. Think of it like charging a battery. If your mental battery is low, even a short conversation can feel draining. But after quiet reflection, alone time, or focusing on a task you enjoy, your energy can replenish, allowing you to engage socially with more ease. This is why timing matters so much for introverts. It's not just about avoiding people. It's about managing the natural rhythm of your energy. Neuroscience also supports this. Studies suggest that introverts' prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and self-regulation, is more active during social interaction. This means introverts are constantly processing social input, evaluating responses, and monitoring behavior. While this allows for thoughtful, deliberate interactions, it also consumes more energy. In contrast, extroverts often rely more on rapid, external feedback loops, which can feel energizing. This fluctuation of social energy is why introverts sometimes surprise themselves. You might wake up feeling ready to engage with friends, colleagues, or a group, only to find yourself drained after an hour. Or the opposite. A short walk with a close friend may leave you feeling uplifted for hours. These fluctuations aren't random. They are signals from your brain and body, guiding you toward environments and interactions that match your current energy level. An important psychological insight here is that social energy management is a skill, not a limitation. Once you recognize that your energy isn't fixed, you can start designing your life around it. For example, scheduling high-energy social activities when your mental battery is full, and reserving low-energy or reflective tasks when you need to recharge allows you to thrive rather than survive in social settings. Your environment also plays a subtle but powerful role. Physical factors like lighting, noise, and crowd density can influence your energy, as can emotional factors like the mood of people around you. A supportive, calm, and familiar environment can boost energy, while chaos, tension, or conflict can drain it rapidly. This explains why introverts often feel different in the same situations. Their brain and body are simply responding to subtle environmental cues that others may not even notice. Even more fascinating is how internal factors affect social energy. Sleep, nutrition, and stress levels all play a role. When your body is fatigued, even small social interactions feel overwhelming. Conversely, when you are well-rested and emotionally balanced, you can engage deeply and meaningfully, even in situations that might normally feel draining. This shows that social energy isn't just about personality, it's about a holistic balance between mind, body, and environment. This dynamic nature of social energy also explains why introverts often feel misunderstood. Society tends to view energy as a fixed trait. Either you're outgoing or you're shy. Either you love socializing or you don't. But introverts know the truth. Your energy flows and ebbs. One day you might be eager to engage with the world. The next day you might crave solitude. Recognizing this natural rhythm allows you to stop comparing yourself to others and start honoring your own needs. Interestingly, this fluctuation can even be leveraged as a strength. By observing your energy patterns over time, you can predict which environments, tasks, or interactions will leave you feeling drained versus energized. You can strategically plan your day, schedule important conversations, and create spaces where your mind can function optimally. This isn't just about avoiding fatigue, it's about maximizing focus, creativity, and emotional insight. Here's a key psychological hack. Instead of forcing yourself into situations that feel draining, experiment with matching your social energy to your environment. Notice when you feel naturally alert, engaged, and curious, and schedule meaningful interactions during those times. Use quiet, reflective periods to recharge, process thoughts, and restore balance. Over time, this awareness transforms social interaction from a source of stress into a tool for growth, creativity, and connection. Finally, understanding the fluctuating nature of social energy allows introverts to embrace their natural rhythm rather than fight it. You don't have to be constantly outgoing to be successful, and you don't have to avoid social situations entirely to protect yourself. By observing and responding to your energy signals, you can navigate the social world with intelligence, grace, and effectiveness, all while honoring the unique wiring of your brain. In essence, social energy is not a fixed limit imposed by your personality. It's a dynamic, responsive system shaped by your environment, your body, and your mind. Recognizing its ebb and flow gives you control, insight, and power. Crowds, conversations, and interactions are not obstacles, they are signals. And your ability to read and respond to these signals is one of your most underrated superpowers as an introvert. Have you ever found yourself lost in thought, sitting quietly while the world around you moves fast? Perhaps friends or colleagues call it daydreaming, overthinking, or even being out of touch. But for introverts, this state of deep reflection is far from idle. In reality, your brain is performing a sophisticated mental process, connecting ideas, solving problems, and constructing patterns that often remain invisible to the outside world. What feels like loneliness is actually an extraordinary cognitive activity. At the heart of this is something psychologists call elaborative processing. When you reflect deeply, your brain isn't just replaying memories or rehearsing conversations. It's actively linking new experiences to existing knowledge. It searches for patterns, evaluates consequences, and imagines multiple outcomes. This is why introverts often arrive at solutions, insights, and creative breakthroughs that others reach only after discussion or trial and error. The experience can feel lonely because this mental activity is mostly internal. Unlike extroverts, whose thoughts are often externalized through speech, gestures, or social interaction, introverts process ideas quietly. This silent cognitive work allows for depth but can give the impression to others that you are detached, quiet, or uninvolved. Yet inside, your mind is buzzing with activity, building intricate networks of understanding that will eventually surface as clarity, intuition, or innovative ideas. Neuroscience helps explain why this deep thinking feels natural for introverts. Brain imaging studies reveal that introverts tend to have more active prefrontal cortices and default mode networks, areas responsible for planning, reflection, and internal thought. These networks allow your brain to process information deeply, anticipate future scenarios, and integrate experiences into complex frameworks. In other words, your alone time is actually a time of intense mental productivity. Another key reason deep thinking can feel lonely is the nature of mental connections. While social conversation often focuses on surface-level topics, introverts are naturally drawn to analyze ideas in depth, examining how one thought connects to another, and predicting patterns before they emerge. This mental architecture takes time to form. It doesn't happen instantly in a crowded room or during casual chatter. It requires focus, quiet, and mental space. Interestingly, this pattern of thinking is linked to creativity and problem-solving. Many introverts throughout history, scientists, artists, writers, and inventors, have relied on periods of solitude to develop insights. Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, and J.K. Rowling all spent hours in deep reflection, allowing their minds to build complex connections that others could not see. What might have looked like isolation or daydreaming was actually an essential part of their creative process. This deep thinking also explains why introverts often have strong intuitive abilities. By processing details, experiences, and observations quietly, the brain gradually forms patterns and predictions. Intuition is not magic. It is the subconscious integration of countless small observations and insights. Your gut feeling about a person, a decision, or a situation comes from these silent mental connections, built over hours of reflection. However, this depth comes with challenges. Because introverts think so deeply, they often overanalyze or replay scenarios in their minds. What feels like productive reflection can sometimes become rumination, especially under stress or uncertainty. The key is learning to harness this deep thinking ability while avoiding mental traps. By focusing on constructive patterns and solutions, your brain's natural tendency for reflection becomes a tool for insight rather than anxiety. Another fascinating aspect is how deep thinking enhances memory and learning. When the brain actively connects new information to existing knowledge, it creates strong neural pathways. This is why introverts often retain knowledge, recall subtle details, and notice patterns that others miss. What might seem like quiet observation is actually the brain encoding complex information that will be used in decision-making, problem-solving, or creative projects later. Deep thinking also affects emotional intelligence. By reflecting on interactions, observing subtle cues, and analyzing outcomes, introverts develop a nuanced understanding of people and situations. You may notice motives, emotional patterns, or hidden dynamics that others overlook. This capacity for observation and analysis allows introverts to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively, creating a quiet but powerful influence in social and professional contexts. The sense of loneliness associated with deep thought is also culturally amplified. Society often values extroversion, visible productivity, and constant interaction. Quiet reflection is sometimes misunderstood as inactivity or disengagement, but introverts understand that the visible hustle is not always an indicator of mental productivity. Much of your most valuable work happens invisibly, inside your mind, building frameworks, refining ideas, and creating insights that will later manifest in action. Here's a powerful way to reframe it. Feeling alone while thinking deeply is not a weakness. It's a sign that your brain is performing at a high level. Just like a sculptor chiseling a statue in solitude, introverts shape ideas and patterns internally before presenting them to the world. This process requires patience, quiet, and trust in your own mental abilities. One practical insight for introverts is to honor your reflective periods. Don't try to force constant social interaction or distract yourself from introspection. Recognize that your brain works differently. It thrives in silence, processes information deeply, and builds connections over time. By protecting these periods of thought, you allow your natural cognitive superpower to function at full capacity. Another strategy is to document your thoughts. Journaling, sketching, or recording insights can help you externalize and solidify the connections your brain is building. Often, the insights developed in solitude feel abstract until they are articulated. By capturing them, you create a bridge between internal reflection and actionable knowledge. Finally, deep thinking is not just about intellect. It's about self-understanding and growth. Through reflection, introverts develop insight into their own values, emotions, and patterns of behavior. This self-awareness enhances decision-making, relationships, and personal fulfillment. What feels like loneliness is actually a journey of mental and emotional refinement, quietly shaping you into a thoughtful, perceptive, and capable individual. In essence, the loneliness of deep thought is misunderstood brilliance. While others may chase external stimulation, your mind thrives in quiet reflection, building intricate connections, solving problems, and generating insights that often go unnoticed. Deep thinking is a form of mental craftsmanship, and introverts are naturally equipped to excel at it. So next time you find yourself alone with your thoughts, don't feel guilty or out of place. Recognize that your brain is busy building patterns, connecting ideas, and quietly mastering complexity. What seems like solitude is actually your mind at work, powerful, precise, and far ahead of the world around you. Have you ever been stuck in a conversation about the weather, a colleague's weekend, or other surface-level topics and felt completely drained afterward? Many introverts experience this phenomenon daily. While extroverts may thrive in casual banter, small talk often feels like a mental workout for introverts, and there's a fascinating psychological reason behind it. Your brain doesn't just crave social interaction. It craves meaningful patterns, deep connections, and substantial understanding. When conversation doesn't provide that, it can feel exhausting rather than energizing. At the core of this is how your brain processes information and social rewards. Introverts are wired to focus deeply, noticing subtleties in tone, body language, and context. When a conversation is shallow or repetitive, your brain struggles to find patterns worth processing. You're scanning for meaning, for signals, for connections, and when none appear, your cognitive system feels overworked, not because of too much information, but because the information is unstructured and irrelevant. This response can be traced back to your attentional depth. Unlike extroverts, whose brains may skim surface-level information with ease, introverts naturally engage with data at a deeper level. Every word, gesture, and inflection is processed and analyzed. In a small talk scenario, where the content may be trivial, your brain expends energy trying to detect significance where there is none. This creates the paradox. Even though you are not actively thinking, in a traditional sense, your mind is working harder than it seems. Neuroscience supports this. Studies indicate that introverts show heightened activity in the prefrontal cortex, responsible for reflection, planning, and decision-making. When conversation lacks depth, this region remains highly active, attempting to find patterns or hidden meaning. Essentially, your brain is searching for value in every social interaction, and shallow exchanges fail to satisfy this instinct, leaving you mentally drained. Another layer comes from the brain's reward system. Social interactions trigger dopamine release, a chemical associated with pleasure and motivation. Extroverts receive a strong dopamine boost from any social engagement, even casual chatter. For introverts, meaningful interaction is what triggers the reward. Small talk rarely delivers that dopamine hit, which is why such conversations can feel like an energy drain rather than a boost. Your brain is hardwired to seek quality over quantity in social connections, making meaningless exchanges tiring rather than stimulating. This preference for depth also explains why introverts excel in settings that allow thoughtful conversation and deliberate reflection. When discussions are meaningful, your brain quickly identifies patterns, draws connections, and rewards you with mental satisfaction. A single conversation that aligns with your values or curiosity can feel energizing, while hours of surface-level banter feel depleting. In essence, your brain is wired to detect and enjoy significance, not noise. Interestingly, this preference for meaningful interaction is linked to emotional and cognitive sensitivity. Introverts are often more attuned to social and environmental cues. You notice inconsistencies, micro-expressions, and unspoken tensions that others overlook. While this gives you a keen understanding of people and situations, it also means that shallow or forced conversation requires extra effort. You are actively filtering, analyzing, and making sense of information that holds little value. Over time, this cognitive labor adds up, leading to fatigue. Small talk can also feel exhausting because it doesn't allow introverts to enter a state of flow, a psychological condition in which the brain is fully engaged and energized by a task. Meaningful conversations, those that involve problem-solving, storytelling, or exploring ideas, trigger flow states, giving your brain satisfaction and focus. Shallow interactions, on the other hand, fail to engage your cognitive resources effectively, leaving you restless and drained. There's also a subtle social pressure involved. In many cultures, small talk is expected, a kind of social glue that keeps relationships moving. For introverts, this creates tension. You understand the value of social norms but may feel internally resistant. Your mind knows the conversation lacks substance, yet your social awareness keeps you engaged. Balancing these competing impulses, the need for meaningful engagement versus social expectation, adds another layer of mental energy expenditure. Interestingly, introverts, discomfort with small talk can be reframed as a superpower. Your brain's insistence on meaningful patterns allows you to detect authenticity, predict intentions, and understand social dynamics at a deeper level. While others may accept casual chatter at face value, you notice nuance and context that can inform your decisions, relationships, and understanding of the world. Small talk may feel exhausting, but it's also a training ground for observation and analysis. Practical strategies can help manage this mental load. First, introverts can seek quality over quantity in social interactions. Prioritizing conversations with individuals who share interests, values, or curiosity reduces energy drain and maximizes cognitive reward. Second, you can set mental boundaries. View small talk as necessary social infrastructure, but don't let it dominate your day. Short, intentional engagement is often enough to maintain relationships without exhausting your brain. Another helpful approach is to reframe your perspective. Instead of seeing small talk as meaningless, view it as an opportunity to observe subtle cues, tone, word choice, body language, and gather insights about people or situations. This turns a seemingly shallow interaction into a micro-observation session, making it mentally stimulating rather than draining. Interestingly, your brain may even find hidden meaning in small talk over time. Seemingly trivial conversations often contain patterns, signals, or emotional clues that only an attentive observer can detect. By staying present and analyzing small interactions, introverts can develop a nuanced understanding of social dynamics, something that goes unnoticed by most. In this sense, small talk is not truly wasted energy. It is training for your cognitive superpower. Finally, it's important to honor your need for reflection after social engagement. Because small talk consumes mental energy without rewarding your brain with meaning, introverts often need downtime to process observations, recharge, and restore balance. Alone time is not avoidance. It is an essential recovery mechanism, allowing your brain to consolidate insights and regain energy for future meaningful interaction. In essence, the exhaustion of small talk is a sign that your brain is tuned to depth, pattern, and significance. While others may thrive in surface-level chatter, your mind craves substance and insight. Recognizing this not only explains why you feel drained in certain social settings, but also highlights your unique cognitive strengths: observation, analysis, and the ability to detect hidden meaning. So next time you feel fatigued by small talk, don't think of it as a flaw. See it as evidence of your brain's demand for meaningful engagement. While others may skim over life's surface, your mind is wired to dive deep, notice what others miss, and build connections that are far richer and more powerful than casual chatter ever could be.